First on BBC One, a former Doctor Who is back to save the Earth.
Welcome to Tin Dog Podcast number 73. After yet another complete systems failure on my laptop, I've reinstalled absolutely everything, and this is yet another sound test. So please bear with me if the sound quality goes up or down or is better or worse than usual, but enough nonsense. Let's talk about Doctor Who. This week's show is dedicated to Alicia Cuff from Vancouver, who donated to help keep the Tin Dog podcast running. Thanks, Alicia. But before I go on, I just want to mention that I was name-checked in this week's WhoCast by James Rockwood, who was wondering why anyone would like Ghostlight, which of course I covered in my last podcast. I think the best thing about this is that I can completely see his point. But even better than that is that I'm just a fan talking about a show. And everybody, every single fan, has their own opinion about Doctor Who, and they're all equally valid. So feel free never ever to agree with me. Which is fine, and that's the way it should be. I'm going to try and cover 3 very separate things in this week's Tin Dog podcast. The first is Russell T Davies's new book, A Writer's Tale. The second will be Sylvester McCoy's appearance in an English soap called Doctors. Bear with me, it does make more sense than it sounds. And lastly, Sylvester McCoy's appearance as the Doctor himself in Kingdom of Silver, the Big Finish audio. So first off, A Writer's Tale. My favourite Doctor Who book related to the new series came out the end of 2005. It was the script book for Series 1. I kind of hoped that there would be one for every series from that point onwards. Sadly, I was to be disappointed, as I am quite a big fan of script books, and so I was looking forward to this particular tome when it came out. SFX, the science fiction magazine, gave the book 5 stars. That's 5 out of 5, rather than say 5 out of 10. Its review opens like this: "You can douse all the other books on New Who in lighter fuel and spark up a Zippo. Only this one opens a door to the showrunner's brain." I'm not quite sure you need to throw all the other books away, or even burn them. I'm not fond of burning books. But does this book itself deserve such high praise? Most people are referring to it as the RTD and Benjamin cookbook, which kind of to me reads like it's a cookbook on how to cook Russell T Davies. Now I know some fans out there really don't like Russell, but cooking's really not an option. The book itself is quite thick, and it's very densely packed, not only with text, but with lots of really nice photographs from the current series, and also, and this is something I particularly enjoyed about the book, Russell T's own comic illustrations. The guy is an extremely good artist. I, for one, would really like one of Russell's drawings, perhaps one of K9 for my wall. That's wishful thinking. Such things just really aren't going to happen. This book is a fascinating insight into the methods that Russell employs in order to get scripts out, but it's also a great insight into Russell's approach to the series, and more importantly, into Russell himself. In interviews that have been carried out since the publication of this book, he has voiced the odd concern that other writers may read what he's written and judge him on the speed he writes or his methods, but I really wouldn't worry about that, because this is a view into the world of Russell as a writer. It's not a guide to becoming a writer. Other books on writing deal with story arcs, character development, hints, tips on twisting plots, taking narratives you've already dealt with. These things are covered in passing, but it's really where the ideas spawn from, the choices made in a production such as Doctor Who. Things like one of the original scripts written by Mark Gatiss, and the way that it's abandoned. Not because he dislikes Mark, in fact he says some wonderful things about Mark, but because it's for the good of the show. And that's what a lot of people, a lot of us, the internet crowd, really forget about Russell. This is a man who cares passionately, deeply about Doctor Who. He doesn't write stories that we might not like just to spite us. And I defy anyone not to like every story Russell's been responsible for. We see examples of his rewriting technique, something from the odd polish, all the way through to 100% rewrite. We see his cat and mouse games with the press. All of these things are covered in great depth and great detail. Getting back for a moment to Russell's approach to the internet, there is a very odd part of the book where Russell relates Helen Rayner's reaction to some of the Doctor Who forums that she happens to visit. She's physically shaken. And let's face it, how many of us could honestly say we've turned up on a forum and failed to engage our brains before typing? But such things are only fleeting in this book. Something also worth covering is that Russell originally had a completely different ending for the last series. That's series 4. I know it's got other names, we can call it whatever we want. The Cybermen were meant to be on board the TARDIS at the very end, the closing scenes, and that would lead into the Christmas special. However, because of the emotional story arc, we just lost Donna, we've lost everyone else, the Doctor is completely alone. He elected to remove those scenes. Those scenes can be found here in script form. The whole book is littered with scripts. And that's one of the wonderful things, that's a completely free thing that you can have. You see, all of the scripts, I think there's 6 of them, that are dealt with in quite detail in this book, are available, the finished product, online for free. I'll put a link on www.tin-dog.co.uk, that's the Tin Dog website, in order for you to be able to get to the Doctor Who Writer's Tale website. The book retails apparently for £30. I've not actually seen it for sale for that anywhere. I think Amazon have it for 15, and a host of other people like Play.com have it for prices very similar to that. This is well worth putting on a Christmas list, and I for one would heartily recommend it. It's not recommended for the younger Doctor Who reader, but for people interested in the development of a television series and mythology, I would definitely give it a look. In Doctor Who news, there's a new Doctor Who news feed. Tell you what, here's Lewis from Podshock to tell you all about it.
Drop the sonic device.
Isn't my day, is it?
Even the sonic screwdriver won't get me out of this one.
Are you seeking Doctor Who news? The Sonic News Driver. Selected Doctor Who related news stories delivered to you sonically. All in bite-sized podcasts, no bigger than a jelly baby.
A sonic cannon on me, and a turbulent called the sonic disruptor. Doc, what you got?
I've got a sonic. Oh, never mind.
What?
It's sonic. Okay, let's leave it at that.
Disruptor, cannon, what?
It's sonic. Totally sonic. I am sonic to all.
A sonic what? Screwdriver!
Who has a sonic screwdriver? I do.
Preview the Sonic News Driver podcast currently on the Doctor Who Podshock feed at podshock.net, or go to arttrap.com or sonicscrewdriver.com. The Sonic News Driver. Get yours today, sonically.
And so we come to the second topic of this week's Tin Dog podcast, the Lollipop Man. Yes, for those of you who don't know, in the 1980s there was a 26-episode miniseries for children shown on ITV. that now known as ITV1. It starred an actor called Graham Capelli, a man who bore a remarkable resemblance to the slightly younger Sylvester McCoy, who was capable of travelling through time and stopping alien intervention on the planet Earth. Of course, this is all a lie. This is the background for an actor character who appears in the soap opera called Doctors, which is on BBC One in the afternoon. The writer, being a big Doctor Who fan, had suggested Sylvester McCoy for the part of the Lollipop Man, because the character bore a remarkable resemblance to our beloved Doctor from Doctor Who. There's of course a few in-jokes specifically designed just for us fans, because the BBC are more than aware that we'll tape it, we'll track it down and we'll watch it. Things like,
"Well, I should be all right for sitting down part. I'm hoping to be the next Davros."
and even,
"It's still good, you know. Saving the universe. It's a long time since I saved the universe."
But for me, it was Sylvester's opening speech as he crossed over the road that really brought a smile.
"Venture no farther, O hell-spawn vehicle, or fall prey to the power of my stick. Get back!"
It was well scripted and well thought out. The writer's obviously going to go on to much better things. The story consisting mainly of Sylvester's character going on to record a DVD commentary or a DVD cemetery and finding out that everyone involved is either not available or is far too young was quite funny. References to John Pertwee, such as,
"Hold on, don't I know you? You're John Pertwee."
"No, my dear. The difference between myself and Mr. Pertwee is John, sadly, is dead. Graham Capelli."
How do you spell that?
again made me smile. It's not the best TV show in the world, but it's well worth tracking down and having a quick look at. Crashing on.
8 out of 10 listeners who expressed a preference say they prefer the Tin Dog podcast.
We certainly do over here at Staggering Stories.
.net.
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 And thanks to all at Staggering Stories. The last thing I'll be talking about this time is Kingdom of Silver, one of the newest releases from Big Finish. Here's the trailer.
Doctor Who, Kingdom of Silver.
As a guest of the Argentia...
A guest? What's wrong, Magus Riga? Does the word prisoner stick in your throat?
This energy trace isn't all you're looking for, is it?
I'm searching for someone. I find the energy trace, I find her.
Perhaps we ought to pool our resources. 2 heads and so on.
Maybe I should let you stick close. Just to keep an eye on you.
I was just thinking the same thing about you.
I must thank the makers for the gift of the silver. Without it, I am certain I would have perished from the haze line.
The silver?
The curative compound, Doctor. Many lives have been saved through the benefits of the silver.
Tanata! You're alive!
Sarah, I thought I'd never see you again.
While I hate to interrupt this touching moment, I must point out that we don't have time to stop and chat.
My Lord Merrill, it is a striking sight, is it not?
I've heard Magus Riga talk of the island's austere, barren grandeur, but now, to see it for myself.
This is only the precursor. When you lay your gaze on the heart, then you will truly be stirred. If not a single shred of integrity, don't open the heart with ill intent. It has been sealed for millennia.
The great Riga, humbled. Why, that's made it all worthwhile.
I am awake. You will be improved.
No! No!
Well, from that you can kind of guess it's a Cyberman story. On one of the extras, Big Finish discuss how they really weren't going to reinvent or try and reconnect Cyberman's history. But in the 2-part 6th Doctor and 5th Doctor story a few years ago, I'm sure that's exactly what they did. Well, it's not worth reviewing the extras at this point. Let's talk about the stories themselves. And I say stories because there are 2. It's a 2-disc thing, but we are presented with one 3-episode story and one single-episode story. The first of the stories, obviously called Kingdom of Silver, bears more than a passing resemblance to Tomb of the Cybermen, in that a planet in the middle of nowhere has one of the tombs embedded underground. The local civilization, unlike Tomb of the Cybermen, have opened up the tomb as an archaeological dig, again same plot, but are starting to use the technology to bring forth their steam power technology. Yes, I'm going to use the word steampunk. If there is a new drinking game, feel free to take a swig now, and make use of that technology in their own society, bringing themselves together, a little bit like Dune in that whole families who are at war with each other and always looking for the edge. It's nicely executed. It's not going to be my all-time favourite story. I feel that some of the world that the story is set on could have been slightly more explored. But with all audio drama, it is best taken from a character point of view. And here we have a lone 7th Doctor, and from the sound effects, it's again the 7th Doctor just before the TV movie. The 7th Doctor is on the planet Task, looking for the perfect cup of tea. He comes across the person who's going to be his companion for this story. This person is not a local. He's looking for his companion and lover, who is also a spy, both of whom are embroiled in the human-Cyberman war dealt with in the short Big Finish series Cyberman. Basically, this is a link between Cyberman Series 1 and Cyberman Series 2. The second story is, for me, emotionally much stronger, although it does fall into the tell, don't show trap which so many people can easily fall into. It is difficult to talk about this story without giving away a rather major plot point of the first story. Suffice to say, this story takes place many, many years later, and a remarkably funny throwaway line about fluid links. Well, maybe I just found it funny. While I'm on the subject of Big Finish audios, I would like to suggest that you track down the story The One Doctor, starring Colin Baker and Christopher Biggins, because I have a distinct feeling that the plot will be echoed in the same way that Jubilee became Dalek in the new Christmas special, now revealed to be called The New Doctor. And so I'll leave you once again, and I'll speak to you very soon. Next time I'll be covering Doctor Who DVD Series 4 set and looking at all of the extras, some of which are particularly good. So until then, be seeing you. You have been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. Doctor Who and its associated shows are all trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Contact us at tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk.
I'm really sorry about the series.
It was a television classic. 10 million viewers. Nowadays people would kill figures like that. But I suppose it's best to stop with 26 incredible episodes rather than make a few more mediocre ones.
It's best to quit while you're amazing, eh?
Yes. At least I was somebody's hero. If you get a chance to do something amazing, grab it with both hands, grapple it to the floor, and don't let it go from you.